Let's begin by offering our respects to the founder Acharya of ISKCON, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Om Agyana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Iti Namaha. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisheshna Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpa Taruvyascha Kripa Sindhu Vya Evacha Paditanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Please repeat after me. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Okay, so we welcome all of you to our weekly Bhagavad Gita classes. We have with us here Harman Bakshani, then we have Vivansh, Ranjit Das, Ritu Lalwani, Lavina, Auntie Nita, we have Aja, Ayush, Disha Melwani, then we have Deepa, Anjali Karnani, Karuna Jadwani, we have Khushbu, we have Manju, Mahek Pakshani, then we have N.C. Venkatchari, we have Pavani with Sahit, and we have Rajiv Kumar, then my parents are there, Ranjit Das, Saket Polishetty, Varsha Mayani, and Venkatesh A. Okay, so what did we see in the previous class? We started with chapter number
6.
6. What is the title of chapter 6?
Jnana Yoga.
Dhyana Yoga. Dhyana Yoga. Any other name by which we know Dhyana Yoga?
Ashtanga Yoga.
Ashtanga Yoga. So how many stages are there in Ashtanga Yoga?
8 stages.
8 stages, isn't it? Yes, very nice. So what did we see in Ashtanga Yoga?
We saw all the strong yoga types: Namayama, Asana, Pranayama, Dhyana, Samadhi.
Yes, very nice. So these are the 8 stages of Ashtanga Yoga.
Yoga.
So Krishna said that there are 2 stages, advanced stage and the preliminary stage. So what are they called as?
Advanced.
Yeah, beginning stage is called as the Yoga Ruruksha stage, and the advanced stage is called as the Yoga Rudha stage. So the first 6, as told to us by Srila Baladev Vidyabhushan, the first 6 belong to the beginning stages, and the last 2 belong to the advanced stage of Ashtanga Yoga. Okay, what else did we see? We saw something called monkey renunciation. Who can explain what is monkey renunciation? Or Falgu Vairagya.
It is like renouncing the desire from the sense gratification, isn't it?
Falgu Vairagya, false renunciation. Or monkey renunciation.
But in false renunciation means he's just showing, or he is having little bit of he's renouncing something, or he just to show to people, that's why that I have renounced everything. Is that what?
Yeah, it appears as though they are renounced because they are dressed in a certain way. They may be living in a secluded place, but actually they are not renounced. They are not renounced in their mentality. The desires for material sense gratification is still there. So why this is a false renunciation, because he's not really renounced in the real sense of the term. No, so just because somebody is dressed in saffron clothes does not mean that he's a sannyasi or he's a brahmachari or he's renounced. Okay. So why is this renunciation called monkey renunciation?
Because monkeys are always their mind is not they jump over here and there.
Yes.
They don't concentrate on one particular thing.
Yes. And it appears as though the monkeys are renounced because they don't have any clothes, they are living in the forest, but the mind is still agitated because they are jumping here and there, isn't it? The mind is not renounced. So that's why this false renunciation is called as monkey renunciation or Falgu Vairagya. Okay, so this is only temporary. It may even if somebody goes to the forest, if by mentality he is not renounced, it will last only for some time, very short period, because the mind is not renounced. He will go back to the old practices. That's the point. So this kind of renunciation is temporary. It is not something that's permanent. So at some point, after a certain period of practice, this person is bound to go back to the old practices. Okay, what else did we see? So under what conditions the mind is our enemy and under what conditions the mind is our best friend?
The mind helps us make decisions.
Yes, but under what condition is the mind your enemy? And under what condition is the mind your friend? The mind helps us make decisions, but what kind of decisions? Good, bad, ugly?
If we can control our mind, it's our friend. If not, it's like against our enemy.
Yes, a controlled mind is our best friend. Very nice. And an uncontrolled mind is our worst enemy. So Krishna says that here, isn't it? Okay. Okay, let's begin today's class. Who can read today?
I can read today.
Okay, thank you, Harman. Let's hear our shlokas.
योगी युञ्जीत सततम् आत्मानं रहसि स्थितः एकाकीयत चित्तात्मा निराशीरपरिग्रहः.
A transcendentalist should always engage his body, mind, and self in relationship with the Supreme. He should live alone in a scheduled place, in a secluded place, and should always carefully control his mind. He should be free from desires and feelings of positiveness.
So
Possessiveness.
here in this section, Krishna is going to describe how to do Ashtanga Yoga. So what is it? The first thing that Krishna says here is he should engage his body, mind, and self in relationship with the Supreme. So remember, this entire section is how to do Ashtanga Yoga. Then Krishna says he should live alone in a secluded place. So in Ashtanga Yoga, you have to leave your home. And then he says he should always carefully control his mind. He should be free from desires and feelings of possessiveness. Now in Bhakti Yoga, does the same apply? In Bhakti Yoga, do we have to engage body, mind, and self in relationship with the Supreme?
No.
Okay, why do you say no?
Yes,
Why do you say yes?
because you have to engage with the Supreme Lord. It's not necessary that you have to leave the house and go.
So this first thing that you have to engage your body, mind, and self in relationship with the Supreme applies to both Ashtanga Yoga and in Bhakti Yoga
And
as well. If you read the
both.
purports of this section, Srila Prabhupada contrasts Ashtanga Yoga with Bhakti Yoga, and he says why Bhakti Yoga is superior to Ashtanga Yoga. Now Krishna here, he is only discussing Ashtanga Yoga. He is not contrasting it with Bhakti Yoga yet. Later, of course, Krishna will establish the superiority of Bhakti Yoga over all other yoga systems. Krishna says that. But Krishna is not saying that yet. But if you read the purpose, Srila Prabhupada already is contrasting Ashtanga Yoga with Bhakti Yoga. So it's very interesting. These purports especially, you need to read. So anyway, first thing one can ask, so if Krishna is not yet establishing the superiority of Bhakti Yoga in this section, why does Srila Prabhupada say it in the purports? What do you think is the answer?
Maybe making awareness to the people, to general people, so that it is, maybe people don't get confused with Ashtanga Yoga or only Bhakti Yoga. It's important or what. So that's why there's a contraction between comparison between
Yes. So he can do it when Krishna does it. Now, why is he doing it before Krishna does it? We can ask like that, isn't it? So why do you think he does that now itself? Because
he's preparing ourselves.
Because a devotee is more merciful than the Lord. So Srila Prabhupada knows that not everybody will read till the end. Many people will stop reading at certain initial stage of the chapters itself. Not everybody is going to read till the end and come to the conclusion of the Bhagavad Gita. So therefore, Prabhupada is putting it before itself, because in case somebody is not going to read the whole chapter and come to a proper conclusion, it's better that the person has this information at the beginning itself. So that's the reason why Srila Prabhupada writes in the purports. If you read the purports very nicely, he contrasts Ashtanga Yoga with Bhakti Yoga in these purports. Okay, so coming back, relationship with the Supreme. So what kind of a relationship an Ashtanga Yogi shares with the Supreme? Because he is concentrating on which aspect of the Supreme Lord? Which feature? There are three features, no? What are the three features of the Absolute Truth?
Bhagwan, Super Paramatma and the material embodiment, like the light.
Yes. So Brahman realization, Paramatma realization, and Bhagavan realization.
Bhagavan.
Very nice, Harman. So an Ashtanga yogi is concentrating on Brahman, Paramatma, or Bhagavan.
Paramatma.
Paramatma, yes, very nice.
Yes.
But a Bhakti yogi, what is his concentration? What is his
Bhagwan.
relationship? Bhagavan feature, isn't it? So the relationship with the Supreme of an Ashtanga yoga is limited only to the Paramatma feature. But a Bhakti yogi, he realizes all three, because if one realizes the Bhagavan feature of the Lord or God as a person, right? Because Brahman realization is to realize God as a light or only an energy. Paramatma realization is to realize the Lord as the super soul, as a Paramatma and the heart of every living entity. And Bhagavan realization is when you realize God as a person. So one who has Bhagavan realization, he has automatically realized Paramatma and Brahman realization. So here in this case, Ashtanga yogi's realization is limited to the Paramatma realization. But for a Bhakti yogi, it is more complete. The realization is more complete because he realizes Bhagavan, which automatically includes both Paramatma and also Brahman feature. Now, he should live alone in a secluded place. Does a Bhakti yogi have to do this?
No.
No, we can practice in our homes, isn't it? We can be working, we can go for a job, we can be taking care of our families, but we can still practice Bhakti Yoga. So Bhakti Yoga does not require you to leave your homes. Then should always, one second. I always end up doing, I don't know how to get this back. Okay. He should always carefully control his mind. Does a Bhakti yogi control the mind?
Yes.
Yes. Then he should be free from desires and feelings of possessiveness. So Ashtanga yogi should be free from desires. But coming to desires, we should remember that there are two kinds of desires, material and spiritual. So what kind of desire is not good for our spiritual well-being?
Material.
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 Can we have spiritual desires?
Yeah.
Yes.
Can you give me some
But then-
examples of spiritual desires?
Serving the Lord,
serve
like the
Krishna,
desire.
Serving the
serve
Lord.
the devotees.
What's that?
Serving the devotees also and making prasad and
Serving the devotees and serving them prasad. But desire
Offering.
to serve the devotees, right? We are talking about desires. So if one has a desire to serve the devotees, one has a desire to serve the Lord, it's a spiritual desire. What else can be a spiritual desire?
Offering, offering like fruits, water.
Okay, fruits,
Be
water,
one with
prasad.
God.
What's that?
Be one with God.
To be
That's
one
a
with God,
desire.
to have the desire to be with the
Yeah,
Lord.
that's
Yes, very nice. Then what else?
the
To
desire
spread
to
his word.
serve the Lord.
Desire to serve the Lord. So any kind of desire that was good for my spiritual well-being. If somebody has a desire to, if somebody just prays for their own spiritual advancement also, I would like to, please, my dear Lord Krishna, if you so desire, please help me advance in my spiritual life. So anything that is good for your advancement in your spiritual life, that is a spiritual desire. Anything that is materialistic on the bodily concept, no related. So sometimes we may pray for, let's say somebody is praying for good health. So if you want that good health so that you can use the body for serving the Lord, then it's a spiritual desire. But if you're just praying for good health, then it may not be a spiritual desire, because if you're going to use the body with good health, but in engaging in sense gratificatory activities, then it is a material desire. So coming here, he should be free from desire. So he should be free from material desires and feelings of possessiveness. So is this common for Ashtanga yogis and Bhakti yogis as well?
free from desires.
Yes.
Yes, it is common for both. See, for a bhakti yogi, from the very beginning stages itself, this is inculcated to be free from desires and feelings of possessiveness. See, this section is of the advanced stage. We discussed Ashtanga Yoga has two stages: preliminary stage and the advanced stage. So this is at the advanced stage. But for a bhakti yogi, from the beginning of bhakti yoga itself, there is the work is being done to be free from desires and feelings of possessiveness. How? Because a bhakti yogi, whatever he does, he gives the results to the Lord. So when you give the results to the Lord, then automatically by default you're not desiring anything for yourself, because the results you're giving away. Your what is yours is only your seva, your work. And feelings of possessiveness, a bhakti yogi knows that Krishna is Sarva Loka Maheshwaram. No? He's the we saw that the peace formula at the end of chapter 5, the last shloka. How, if you understand that Krishna is the ultimate beneficiary of all yagyas, if you understand that Krishna is the supreme owner of all the planetary systems, then there is going to be no conflict. Then what is there is no feeling of you owning anything. Everything belongs to the Lord. So this something is there for a bhakti yoga from the beginning stages itself, not necessarily only in the advanced stage. Let's see 11 and 12 together.
शुचौ देशे प्रतिष्ठाप्य स्थिरमासनमात्मनः नात्युच्छ्रितं नातिनीचं चैलाजिनकुशोत्तरम् तत्रैकाग्रं मनः कृत्वा यतचित्तेन्द्रियक्रियः उपविश्यासने युञ्ज्यात् योगमात्मविशुद्धये.
To practice yoga, one should go to a secluded place and should lay kusha grass on the ground and then cover it with a deer skin and a soft cloth. The seat should be neither too high nor too low and should be situated in a sacred place. The yogi should then sit on it very firmly and practice yoga to purify the heart by controlling his mind, senses, and activities and fixing the mind on one point.
So an Ashtanga yogi, he has to go to a secluded place, and then now in the secluded place, what does he have to do? He has to lay kusha grass on the ground. Then that kusha grass, he has to cover it with deer skin and a soft cloth. Now, what do you think is the reason to use a deer skin on the sitting place of the yogi? What is the purpose of that deer skin?
It repels insects.
It repels insects. Yes, reptiles, insects, snakes, scorpions. They don't walk on the deer skin because it has a certain chemical effect. So this deer skin, how do they get the deer skin? Do they kill the deer and get the deer skin? How they're getting the deer skin?
No, when the deer dies, afterwards they remove the skin and then they use it as a deer skin.
Yes. Yes. So a deer who has died a natural death, that deer skin is used for this. It's not that they go to the forest and then they kill a deer and get the skin. No. Okay. Then now this particular seat, how should it be? It should not be very high. It should not be very low. See here in the Sanskrit. Na ati uchritam, not very high. Na ati nicham, not very high, not very low. And the asanam, the sitting place should be sthiram. It should be it should not be something like a rocking chair or something. It should be firm. Then this we already discussed, no? Kusho, it should be covered with the kusha grass and soft cloth and deer skin. Then what the yogi has to do, the yogi should sit on it very firmly and practice yoga to purify the heart by controlling the mind, senses, and activities and fixing the mind on one spot. So we discussed how the yogi focuses and he tries to raise the consciousness from the lower chakras to the higher chakras. So do we have any such conditions in Bhakti Yogi? Do we need a deer skin, soft cloth, kusha grass?
No.
No,
We
you
don't
can
need-
you can sit on your chair, you can sit on the floor, you can sit anywhere, you can walk, you can do anything and you can still practice Bhakti Yoga. So we don't have these specifications in Bhakti Yoga. 13 and
Mataji,
14.
in the last class, you said the more you breathe, it reduces your lifespan. And in yoga, we breathe less. This is what it says, right? But there are certain types of yoga. I don't know, is it prescribed in the Shastra or not? Like Kapal Bharti. We breathe more than usual. So it is not advisable then. But we are breathing more, that means we are reducing our lifespan.
If your breathing is at a fast pace, then the lifespan is reducing, yes.
Yes. So Kapal Bharti and other yoga that we do, whatever Baba Ramdev says, and so those are not prescribed as per the Bhagavad Gita or Shastra.
No, but I don't know the details of what he teaches. I have not seen. I don't know what I have no idea. I cannot comment on that. I don't know. I've never seen.
So what you recommend is all the yoga which reduces the slow, go to the slower pace, right? Breathing at a slower pace.
So what is it that you want? You want to live a long life or you want to go back to Godhead? What do you want?
Both.
So if you want to go back home, back to Godhead, Krishna recommends Bhakti Yoga. See, there is Bhakti Yoga, there is Karma Yoga, there is Jnana Yoga, and there is Dhyana Yoga or Ashtanga Yoga. Okay. So if the goal is to go back home, back to Godhead, even if one is living for a short period, but you're going back home, back to Godhead, then what does it matter? But if one is living a long life, but if one has to come back again, then what is the use of that long life? So first priority is what you want to prioritize first. I want to go back home, back to Godhead. Now, one may have the desire to live a long life because the longer one can live, the longer one has the opportunity to do service. No, for example, there are some services that you can do in the material world, but you can't do in the spiritual world. What are the services that you can do in the material world, but you can't do in the spiritual world? Who can say?
Say the question again.
Like serving others, serving humankind, serving all the 8.4 million yonis.
Serving the 8.4 million yonis. Okay, Aja, you said something, I didn't get it.
You wanted to know the
I
question.
didn't get the question.
Oh,
I
the
didn't get the
question
question.
is, what is the seva that you can do in the material world, but you cannot do in the spiritual worl? For example, if you want to serve the Lord there, can you offer flowers? Can you offer prayers? Can you
can't
do some
preach.
puja?
You can't preach to the other.
We cannot preach in the spiritual world. Why we cannot preach in the spiritual world?
Because everybody already knows.
Yes, everybody is
Everybody's already
already
doing
a
bhakti.
liberated soul, isn't it? Nobody is a conditioned soul in the spiritual world. So if you like preaching seva, then you cannot do that in the spiritual world. You can do
Spiritual
that
world.
only in the material world. Is there anything that Krishna cannot do in the... Actually, there's nothing that God cannot do, but something that he does not do in the spiritual world and does in the material world. What's that?
To deliver the fallen soul.
Deliver the fallen souls, because there everybody is
Elevated.
elevated. Anything else you can think of? Can Krishna kill demons in the spiritual world?
No.
No, because there are no demons in the spiritual
No.
world. Like that. So anyway, coming back to the original question, which Rajiv asked, if you want to live a long life, then yes, deep breathing is recommended. And see yoga, the word yoga in the modern times is just reduced to these asanas, the physical exercises, and in that the concentration is on the breathing, so that will extend the lifespan. But the point is, if you want a recommended yoga system, which is between, if you want to choose between karma yoga, dhyana yoga, jnana yoga and bhakti yoga, then Krishna recommends bhakti yoga. Does that answer your question?
Yes. No, I was clear, but I had this kind of doubts that whatever yoga modern days we do, like it's not matching what you said last time. So that's why this question was coming.
Yeah, the modern time, there is very less information that people have from the Shastras, and what is being said, I don't know. I don't watch. I don't know. I have no idea. Okay. But anyway, this is what Krishna says.
Okay.
Okay. So did we do 13 and 14?
No.
No, no.
Okay.
समं कायशिरो ग्रीवं धारयन्नचलं स्थिरः सम्प्रेक्ष्य नासिकाग्रं स्वं दिशश्चानवलोकयन् प्रशान्तात्मा विगतभीः ब्रह्मचारिव्रते स्थितः मनः संयम्य मच्चित्तो युक्त आसीत मत्परः.
Translation. One should hold one's body, neck, and head erect in a straight line and stare steadily at the tip of the nose. Thus, with an unagitated, subdued mind, devoid of fear, completely free from sex life, one should meditate upon me within the heart and make me the ultimate goal of life.
So one should hold one's body, neck, and head erect in a straight line and stare steadily at the tip of the nose. So in Ashtanga Yoga or Dhyana Yoga, the eyes are open or the eyes are closed?
Eyes are closed.
Closed.
Closed. So how can you stare at the tip of your nose with the eyes closed?
Half closed actually. We should half close the eyes.
Yes, it should be just open enough to be able to stare at the tip of the nose. Not fully open, but not fully closed also. So it should be semi-open. So why should we not completely close the eyes?
So we
So
should
you
not
don't
get
fall
deceived.
asleep.
So we don't fall asleep, because the danger of completely closing your eyes and engaging in Dhyana Yoga is that one may go to sleep. And if your eyes are fully wide open, then what is the danger?
We just see all the material things
sense.
and we just
One
get
gets
distracted.
distracted.
Yeah, one may get distracted. Okay, so one has to sit with body, neck, and head in the same straight line. Why? Why should the body, neck, and head be in the same straight line?
To
All
raise the
chakras.
energy through the chakras.
Okay. How do you get more energy by keeping your body, neck, and head straight?
The energy rises, no, from the chakras.
Okay,
From
but
the lower chakras to the
initially it's
higher
from the
chakras.
lower to the higher. It's not going to happen in one day.
We will
See,
be more alert.
when we sit straight, then what happens? We facilitate that more oxygen is entering the body. How? Because the lungs are open. No, we are not. When we sit like this, then the lungs are getting shrunk. So when we breathe, not so much oxygen is going inside. But when we sit straight like that, with our shoulders broad and the back is straight, then when we breathe, we are facilitating more oxygen to go inside the body. And when more oxygen goes in the body, it helps in our concentration better. Okay, so this is why the body, neck, and head erect in a straight line facilitates better concentration. Even devotees, when we chant and all that, some devotees, when they sit straight like that and they chant, they see that they are able to do better chanting. Because it facilitates more oxygen going into your body, and it facilitates better concentration, better focus. Then what does Krishna say? With an unagitated, subdued mind, devoid of fear, completely free from sex life, one should meditate upon me within the heart and make me the ultimate goal of life. So for an Ashtanga yogi, should meditate upon the Paramatma. So Krishna is saying that Paramatma upon which one is meditating in Ashtanga Yoga is none other than Krishna only. So he's saying one should meditate upon me within the heart. So most of the Ashtanga yogis, they are not even aware that Paramatma within the heart is none other than Krishna. But Krishna says that is me within the heart. Then Krishna is saying he has to make me the ultimate goal of life. So Krishna himself is declaring that he is the ultimate goal of life. Now, of course, mind control and sense control is something that Krishna has been talking about over and over again, isn't it? Especially in this particular section. Because mind control is very, very important in any yoga system, and more so in Ashtanga Yoga. Then he says devoid of fear. So what is it that an Ashtanga yogi may fear in the during the process?
That he might fall to lower stages.
He may fall down. So what is the problem if he falls down?
Again, then
can't
more time will be required to go to the higher stages of Ashtanga.
More time will be required. And for a Bhakti yogi, can a Bhakti yogi fall down?
No.
A Bhakti yogi can never fall down?
No, he also can if
Yes, a Bhakti yogi also can fall down. Maybe he also can go back to the old practices. But what is the difference between the fall down of a Bhakti yogi and an Ashtanga yogi?
Bhakti yogi starts from where he left the process, and Ashtanga Yoga he has to start again.
Yes, exactly. In Bhakti Yoga, if you end this lifetime at 20, let's say you did 20% Bhakti, but you went back to bad practices, you fell into bad association. And so in this lifetime, you could only advance to 20%. The next lifetime, you start from 21. But in Ashtanga Yogi, if you fall down, even if you're on out of the 8 stages, let's say you have crossed even the 7th stage, but somehow, for some reason, there is a fall down and you are not able to cross the 8th stage. You have to go back and start from stage 1 all over again. So this is the difference between the fall down in Bhakti Yoga and Ashtanga Yoga. Completely free from sex life. Does this apply to Bhakti Yoga as well?
yeah, I think so.
Yes.
Okay. So what about people who are married and they have children and they are practicing Bhakti Yoga? So if somebody is practicing Bhakti Yoga, cannot get married and have children?
They can.
They can.
They
Yes.
can, but
Yes.
Bring seeds and souls
Yes.
into
They
Krishna
can
consciousness.
because
Yes,
Bhakti-
exactly. So in Ashtanga Yoga, there is absolutely no question of any kind of sex life. But in Bhakti Yoga, yes, sex life is permitted within the Grihastha ashram for the sake of having Krishna conscious children. So this is another contrast between Ashtanga Yoga and Bhakti Yoga. And of course, meditate upon me within the heart. The Ashtanga Yogi meditates on the Paramatma and makes the Paramatma the ultimate goal of life. But for a Bhakti Yogi sees Krishna everywhere. He sees Krishna wherever he goes. It's not that he sees Krishna only as a Paramatma. For him, Krishna is the light. Krishna is a Paramatma. Krishna is also a person. So Bhakti Yogi sees Krishna everywhere. See, this goal of a Dhyana Yogi is here. You can see his eyes are semi-open, concentrating on the tip of the nose, and he's focusing on the Paramatma, and he's in a secluded place. You can see the kusha grass and deer skin, and then he's sitting on a soft cloth, and he's in a secluded place. So this is Dhyana Yoga. And also you can see his body is erect, isn't it? He's not sitting with a hunch. The localized Vishnu Murti is the plenary representation of Krishna dwelling within one's heart. One who has no program to realize this Vishnu Murti is uselessly engaged in mock yoga practice and is certainly wasting his time. Krishna is the ultimate goal of life, and the Vishnu Murti situated in one's heart is the object of yoga practice. To realize this Vishnu Murti within the heart, one has to observe complete abstinence from sex life. Therefore, one has to leave home and live alone in a secluded place, remaining seated as mentioned above. One cannot enjoy sex life daily at home or elsewhere and attend a so-called yoga class and become a yogi. One has to practice controlling the mind and avoiding all kinds of sense gratification, of which sex life is the chief. In the rules of celibacy written by the great sage Yajnavalkya, it is said, the vow of brahmacharya is meant to help one completely abstain from sex indulgence in work, words, and mind at all times, under all circumstances, and in all places. So this vow of brahmacharya has to be followed. Strictly followed in Ashtanga Yoga. There is no question of indulging in any kind of relationship with the opposite sex in the forest. No one can perform correct yoga practice through sex indulgence. Brahmacharya is taught, therefore, from childhood. So see, when the children, they would go to the Gurukul and they would receive training under the spiritual master. From the very childhood only, they were trained to become brahmacharyas. When no one has knowledge of sex life. Children at the age of 5 are sent to the Gurukula, or the place of the spiritual master, and the master trains the young boys in the strict discipline of becoming brahmacharis. Without such practice, no one can make advancement in any yoga, whether it be dhyana, jnana, or bhakti. One who, however, follows the rules and regulations of married life, having a sexual relationship only with his wife, and that also under regulation, is also called a brahmachari, such a restrained householder. So if somebody is in the grihastha ashram, he's married and has regulated a relationship even with his wife, then he is also called a brahmachari. It's called being a restrained householder. Such a restrained householder brahmachari may be accepted in the bhakti school. So such a person can be accepted in the bhakti school, but jnana and dhyana schools do not admit householder brahmacharis. They require complete abstinence without compromise. In the bhakti school, a householder brahmachari is allowed controlled sex life because the cult of bhakti yoga is so powerful that one automatically loses sexual attraction, being engaged in the superior service of the Lord. So asanas, what is says in the modern time, the word yoga is means only asanas, these physical exercises. But we have to understand that only engaging in asanas will not free us from vasanas. What is vasana?
Sexual life, sex desire.
Desire.
Gratification.
So in the initial tendency, let's use the word tendency. The initial tendency to enjoy, whether it is food or any other sense gratificatory activity, that tendency is coming from where? Initially, that tendency actually we are bringing from our previous lifetime. Because as we discussed, although we don't have memory of the previous lifetime, still we carry the impressions, that habits are there. It's there in our subconscious mind. Therefore, you see some children from childhood only, some people have a certain tendency. Some children may like sports. Some people are more attracted to mathematics. Some children are more artistic. From the childhood only, you can see that although the parents may not have put them in a specialty school for arts or something, but you see the tendency is there in children from childhood. How? Because it is coming from a previous lifetime. So that vasana is coming from a previous lifetime, because that is something that is there in the consciousness. So because of that tendency, it leads to a desire for food. That then in this lifetime, we have the desire to engage in that activity, to enjoy that particular activity. So that desire, because that desire is there, then it will lead to action. Then the person will engage in meat eating. Here in this example, we are discussing meat eating, but it can be any kind of sense gratificatory activity. And when one engages in that activity, it reinforces the vasana, because now we are creating more and more impressions in our mind. We are creating more and more, we are putting more and more things in our consciousness. So it is giving rise to more and more tendencies, more vasanas. So the more vasanas there, then again the desire is there, again it leads to action. So this is a cycle that goes on and on. So just doing the asanas are not going to free us from the vasanas. So every child's mind is innocent. It is our duty to mold their mind into Krishna consciousness. So just as how if we want to train our children to become a good cricketer or a good basketball player, football player. So what happens, the children, or chess or whatever it may be, the parents, they train the children from childhood itself, isn't it? The training starts young. Not that when they are 25, 30, then you can go and join a cricket academy and then you can become a very good cricketer. No, the training starts when one is young. In the same way, even Krishna consciousness, spirituality should be trained from young age itself. Not that we say bhakti is for later, bhakti is for old age. Now you do whatever you want, you enjoy life. Later in old age, you can do bhakti. No, we have to train the children from when they are young itself. Nowadays, unfortunately, the parents, they get very worried. If children take to bhakti, then the parents get very worried. They think that, no, this is not the age. No, don't do it now. They think that they will become renunciants and leave the world and go. But that's not the message of Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita. Krishna never says, leave your home, go to the forest. He never told Arjuna to leave the war and go to the forest, isn't it? Even though Arjuna was ready to do that. I was seeing one class of His Grace Radhe Shyam Prabhu. He's a senior brahmachari in India. And he was saying that once he had this student, a university student, who was coming to the temple and he was chanting his rounds. He used to come to the temple to do seva, and he was also studying in the university. Then his father happened to come to that city because he was staying in a hostel. The student was staying in a hostel, and then the father traveled to another city and he came to his son's place, and then he saw that his son was engaged in spiritual life. And then his father told the son that do not do all this, stop going to the temple, don't need to do any seva, no need to any chant any rounds, just completely stop this. I just want you to focus on your studies. So then that student, he came to the temple and he informed Radheshyam Prabhu because he was under his guidance. So he told him that I will not come anymore and I'm not going to chant anymore because my father has given me instructions to completely come out of all this. So Radheshyam Prabhu said, what can we do? Because it's an instruction from the parents. So he said, okay, whenever you desire to come back, the doors are always open for you. Now then that was the end of the matter. And for many months, that boy was not to be seen. And then after several months or maybe a couple of years or so, I don't remember properly the time period. But then suddenly he saw the father came to the temple with the bead bag around his neck with tilak on his forehead. And he's come to meet Radheshyam Prabhu and he says, I'm the father of so-and-so. Do you remember him? He used to come to you. So he said, yes, I remember very well. But he was shocked to see the father dressed as a devotee with tilak and bead bags and this thing, japamala and all that stuff. So he said, but I thought you were not in favor of your son's Krishna consciousness. So he said, yes, but that's true. But I'll tell you later. But I want you to come with me right now. Please accompany me. So he said, okay. So he took him to a hospital where the son was admitted. The son was admitted in the hospital because now he had become a drug addict. Why? Because after he stopped going to the temple, he fell into bad company, bad association, and the association of his friends, he started to take drugs. And now he had become a drug addict, and now he was hospitalized in order to come out of that situation. So then the father, he apologized and he said that my son was coming to you. He was coming to the temple doing seva. It was my big mistake that I stopped him from coming to you. And now because of that, he fell into bad company. And then the father says that then I realized my mistake. And then because of my son's condition, then later I became inspired to chant the holy name and become a devotee. So just see how the parents are so afraid if the children take to bhakti. But actually see, this verse from the Srimad Bhagavatam says that one who cannot deliver his dependence from the path of repeated birth and death should never become a spiritual master, a father, a husband, a mother, or a worshipable demigod. So if one is a parent, then it is the duty of the parent to make sure that this is the last birth for my son or for my daughter. So from the very childhood, we have to train our children and ensure that this is going to be the last birth for them. This is our responsibility as parents. If we don't do that, then we are failing. Then actually we do not have the right to become a parent. See, this is what this verse from the Srimad Bhagavatam says. One who cannot deliver his dependence. So if you cannot deliver your children from the path of repeated birth and death, you should never become a father. So this is our responsibility when we have kids. See the global statistics now. There is one death by suicide every 40 seconds worldwide. One death by suicide. So this is the second leading cause of death in the world for those aged 15 to 24 years. So youth. So they say if old people are dying because of old age, disease, it's understandable. But for the age group of 15 to 24 years, the second leading cause of death is suicide. So these are staggering statistics. And unfortunately, this is increasing more and more with every passing year in this age of Kali. The reason is before the youth try this, they don't want to try this. If only they could try spirituality before trying suicide, then they would not be committing suicide because now they know that they are not the body, they are spirit, soul. The mind is like a dog that barks but cannot bite unless we let it. So yes, the dog is always going to bark. But if we tie the dog to a pole, the dog can only bark. He cannot come out of that pole because he is now restricted. Because he is tied to the pole, there is some restriction. So when we restrict the mind can only bark but it cannot bite. It cannot put our thoughts into action. So all kinds of weird thoughts may come to our mind. We cannot control that. No, sometimes we may think, and the most dirty thought or the most weird thought may come to our mind. Now we cannot control that, but what we can control is not put those thoughts into action by controlling the mind. Why? Because again, this particular verse from the 3rd chapter, intelligence is higher than the mind. So when our mind distracts us, we use our intelligence. Intelligence we get from Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. So the intelligence of Guru, Sadhu, Shastra we use to control the mind. What is influencing our minds the most in the current age? What is it that is influencing us the most? It's the media. What we watch on television, what we hear, what we see so many reels on Instagram and so many other social media. And nowadays everybody has become a Gyani. So many people come and say, they interpret the Shastras and they say so many things. Oh, Ramayana, actually this happened, that happened, Mahabharata, actually this. And they are confusing the people. There is no truth in that, because and even the audience who are just listening, they depend on these reels for information. But how many of us are actually reading the Shastra and getting the knowledge from the Shastra instead of getting the knowledge from the media? So the media is something that's influencing our minds, multiplied, magnified, and magnetized. It is attracting us. It is, and the thought is getting magnified in our minds. It is also multiplied many times. We will not read the text in detail. You can read it later when I share the slides. But so we have to be very, very careful what we hear, what we see on social media. Whom are we going to trust? You can hear, yes, you can hear lectures on YouTube, Instagram, but always make sure you hear from a bona fide, authorized authority. Somebody who speaks from Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. Don't hear from people. Their speech may be very attractive, but ultimately it's only crap. So you have to make sure that the person you're hearing from, the person you're seeing on social media is bona fide. Mind your mind to know when it is in order, when on the border, and when out of the order. You should know. When your mind is misleading you, you should be intelligent enough to understand that no, the mind is currently misleading me. Just as how when we use, let's say we are using a laptop, the new laptop may be working very well, but at some point it may start to give us some problems. So the user of the laptop, he knows, oh, something is beginning to go wrong, isn't it? Very soon, maybe it will work for another few months or another couple of years or so. So you know when your laptop is in order, when it is on the border, when it is beginning to give trouble, and when it is out of order. Now you know, now no more is going to work. So like that also, this is how the user knows his product. We should know how our mind works, when it is in order, when it is misleading us, and when it is completely out of order. So we need to program our mind with the correct practices. If we live a sattvic lifestyle, if we eat the right kind of food, if we eat prasad, it will purify our mind. If we hear lectures from bona fide authorities, if we hear from bona fide authorities, if we see the beautiful form of the Lord, then we can control our senses. See, why did Prabhupada establish such big temples with such opulent deity worship? Why? Because when there is deity worship, automatically we are engaging all our senses. When we see the beautiful form of the deity, we are engaging our sense of sight in admiring the beauty of the deities. The deities in the temples are always so beautifully decorated. No, it's so spick and span, so clean, and so beautifully they're decorated with such opulent garments and the jewelry and the flowers, fresh flowers. Why? It's so that we can engage our senses to see the beautiful form of the Lord. The flowers, when we smell incense, when we smell the flowers, the aroma of the flowers, then we are engaging our sense of smell in the service of the Lord. When Prabhupada established Kirtan, daily classes, every ISKCON temple, every day, no matter where in the world, there are daily Bhagavatam classes and daily Bhagavad Gita classes, Monday through Sunday, national holiday, Sunday, any day, there are definitely classes are held. So why? Because then we can engage the hearing in the service of the Lord. When we eat prasad, in the temple you get prasad, only prasad. So when we eat prasad, we are engaging our tongue in the glories of the Lord. When we chant the holy name, when we do our japa, we are engaging our tongue in the service of the Lord. So like that, all the senses are engaged in the service of the Lord. So we need to have the right practices. With that, we can program our mind. So the mind will take you towards bad habits, but we need to understand what are the good habits. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam. Hearing, chanting, and remembering the Lord. There are 9 items of devotional service. Shravanam. Harman, can you mention the 9 items of devotional service?
Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atmanivedanam.
Yes, very nice. So Shravanam means?
Hearing.
Then Kirtanam?
Chanting.
Vishnu Smaranam?
Chants.
Vishnu Smaranam. Smarana means?
Listen to God.
Remembering. Okay, remembering. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam. Then Pada Sevanam means?
Lotus feet.
Worshipping the lotus feet of the Lord. Archanam?
Doing puja.
Yes, deity worship. Then Vandanam?
Praising the Lord.
Friend.
Praising the Lord.
Vandanam is praising the Lord. How? By offering prayers, right? Vandanam. We glorify the Lord. We offer prayers to the Lord. So that is Vandanam. Dasyam?
Being a servant to the Lord.
Being a servant of the Lord. Then Sakyam?
Being a friend of the Lord.
Friend of the Lord. And Atma Nivedanam?
Surrendering
Surrendering everything. So these are the 9 items of devotional service. How many of them we have to do?
all 9, but favorably at least 2. At least the first 2.
All 9?
Yeah, out of, see, Ambarish Maharaj was someone who did all 9 items of devotional service. But if you can perfect even one of these 9 items, that is sufficient to take you back home, back to Godhead. So which is the most important of these 9 items?
Hearing and chanting.
Hearing and chanting, the first 2, Shravanam and Kirtanam. When we do japa, what are we doing?
Shravanam and Kirtanam.
When we do japa, we are doing Shravanam and Kirtanam. How? Because we are chanting loud. So when we chant loud, automatically that sound vibration is entering our ears and going into our consciousness. So when we do japa, we are doing both Shravanam and Kirtanam simultaneously. So Sri Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, who is the spiritual master of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, he said that in the morning, our first business should be to beat the mind with shoes 100 times, and before going to bed, to beat the mind 100 times with a broomstick. In this way, one's mind can be kept under control. So don't give the mind what the mind asks you for. Just like how we don't give our children everything that the children asks us for. If we know that something is not good for our children, we don't give it to the child. So like that, the mind is a spoiled child. We should not allow the mind to indulge in whatever it wants, whatever it desires. Let's go to 15.
युञ्जन् एवं सदात्मानं योगी नियतमानसः शान्तिं निर्वाणपरमां मत्संस्थामधिगच्छति.
Thus, practicing constant control of the body, mind, and activities, the mystic transcendentalist, his mind regulated, attains to the kingdom of God, or the abode of Krishna, by cessation of material existence.
So here Krishna is talking about what is a result that is obtained after long practice of Ashtanga Yoga. So what is the result that they obtain? They can go to the abode of Krishna. So see, when one engages in Ashtanga Yoga, one gets some side benefits. So of course, the goal is to realize Paramatma. But when one is practicing these 8 stages, what are the side benefits that an Ashtanga yogi gets automatically? One is?
They connect to the God.
Yeah, that is the goal. Ultimately, it will take them there. But side benefits, which are not so important, but they get.
Peace of mind.
Peace of mind. Okay. More reasons?
They
Remember one
renounce
of...
the material desires.
What's that?
Meditation.
They renounce the material desires.
Okay. More?
The lifespan is increased
The lifespan is increased. How?
by controlling the breath.
Yes, because one of the 8 stages of Ashtanga Yoga is breath control, pranayama. So therefore, they are increasing their lifespan. Okay, more? Do they have better health or worse health?
They have better health.
Their health is also improving. They have good health. That's a side benefit. Then also another side benefit that they get is they develop what is called as mystic powers. They get some mystic powers. But that is not the goal of an Ashtanga yogi. So the danger here is if he gets distracted by mystic powers. So now he has long life. Now he has good health. And he also has mystic powers. And now if he falls down, he doesn't get the goal. So what is the danger is that he will get distracted, and it's probable that he will misuse his mystic powers to get fame, to get power, to get followers, to get money. Many people who do these magic tricks, magic, they are producing some gold, producing some ash, walking on the water, transporting themselves from one place to other, or they make themselves very, very light, or they can make themselves very, very heavy that nobody can move them, or they make themselves so light, they make themselves as light as a feather. So these are all mystic powers that they develop during the Ashtanga Yoga process. But this is not the ultimate goal. So they need to be determined and just can. It's like if we are going from, let's say one is going from home towards work, right? He's driving towards his work. But on the way, there are so many distractions. No, probably somebody is fighting on the road. Probably there's some shooting going on. Probably there's some Bollywood star here. So these are all distractions. Now, if he's going to stop and get off his car and observe the movie shooting, or he wants to see that film star, then he's going to be delayed in reaching his goal, reaching his work. So one should not get distracted. So in Ashtanga Yoga, there is a tendency that one gets distracted by those mystic powers. And sometimes if an Ashtanga yogi, if he falls down in this particular lifetime and then he takes birth again, those in the new lifetime, because the impressions are there from the previous lifetime, he has some mystic powers even in this lifetime, which they tend to misuse to attract followers, so that then they become very popular. Oh, this person is able to do this magic trick, that magic trick, but it's only a jugglery of words, jugglery of actions. So we should not get distracted by such people also, because at the end of the day, if one is not a devotee, one is not does not have any devotion in the heart, no matter what kind of magic trick he may be able to perform, that person is not going to take you back to the spiritual world. So this is another danger in Ashtanga Yoga. 16.
नात्यश्नतस्तु योगोऽस्ति न चैकान्तमनश्नतः न चातिस्वप्नशीलस्य जाग्रतो नैव चार्जुन.
There is no possibility of one's becoming a yogi. O Arjuna, if one eats too much or eats too little, sleeps too much or does not sleep enough.
So you should not eat too much nor eat too little. What is, according to Ayurveda, the stomach, how much should we eat? We should eat till the stomach is half full. 1/4 of the stomach, there should be space for water, and 1/4 in the stomach, there should be space for air. If we eat too much or we eat too little, then we cannot keep body and soul also together. If we eat too much, then we cannot concentrate on our spirituality. And sleep too much or sleep too less. Anybody who sleeps more than 6 hours in a day is said to be in the mode of ignorance. The doctors say 8 hours, but actually Shastra says 6 hours. 6 hours of sleep is sufficient for one to get going physically, mentally. But of course, 6 hours is the maximum. There is no minimum limit. There have been Like for example, Haridas Thakur, he would not sleep until he has finished his stipulated chanting of 300,000 names of the Lord. Every day he would chant, and until he would not finish his chanting, he would not sleep. Srila Rupa Goswami would sleep only for 2 hours in a 24-hour period, and that was sufficient for him to get him going. But modern times, if we 6 hours is the maximum, is what the Shastra says. Modern times, how much is it that the doctors recommend?
8 hours. 8 hours.
8 hours, isn't it? But Shastra says 6 hours.
Yuktahara viharasya yuktacheshtasya karmasu yukta swapnavabodhasya yogo bhavati dukkhaha.
He who is regulated in his habits of eating, sleeping, recreation, and work can migrate all material pains by practicing the yoga system.
So he has to regulate himself. So this regulation is there even for bhakti yogis, eating, sleeping. We don't overly engage in eating. Eating, of course, how do we regulate our eating? By eating only Krishna Prasad. In bhakti yoga, we eat only Krishna Prasad. Sleeping also is regulated. You cannot sleep excessive hours, otherwise you're in the mode of ignorance. So anyway, regulation is a must for Ashtanga yogis as well as in bhakti yoga. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says that the only recreation for Ashtanga yogi is to take a walk. That's all. Because what can he do in the forest? What can he do in the forest? So the only recreation for an Ashtanga yogi is that he can take a walk. That's all. So all his habits are regulated. So see here in this chart, we have, based on Prabhupada's purports, the difference between Ashtanga Yoga and Krishna Yoga based on the certain criteria. So for example, place of worship for an Ashtanga Yoga, live alone in a secluded place. But for a devotee who's in Krishna consciousness, anyway, there is no disturbance for him, because anyway, he would associate only with satsangis or devotees. So there is no need for him to go to a secluded place to avoid any disturbance like that. A devotee by default does not have that kind of friend circle or association where he's going to be disturbed. So like this, when I share this in the group, you can see the criteria, the Ashtanga Yoga and the Krishna consciousness, the contrast between the two, and also in the text number it is there. Of course, it's important, it's very, very crucial that you also read the purports. Okay, here, there is nothing here because Srila Prabhupada has not written anything to contrast Ashtanga Yoga on this particular criteria. So there is nothing over here. Okay. And of course, we are not allowed to speculate. We'll stop here. We'll continue in the next class if Krishna so sanctions. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Bhagavad Gita ki jai.
Jai.
Okay, so today is a very, very auspicious Ekadasi in India. Yesterday, it was here in Chile. The next Ekadasi that will come is even more special because that is the day when the Bhagavad Gita was spoken. So it's Gita Jayanti. The next Ekadasi that comes in 15 days from now is Gita Jayanti, the day when the Bhagavad Gita was spoken. So what ISKCON organizes in the month of December is something that is called as book marathon. So this is the time when you will see in any ISKCON temple you go to, they will be maximizing the book distribution. So there are different packages that are available. You can also participate if you like by distributing books. By distributing means you can sell the books or you can give the book as a gift to your friends, to your relatives. If you have a store, if you have a shop, you can have some books, Bhagavad Gitas or any other Prabhupada books, small books are there. You can keep it at your cash counter, and if you have a business, then people can just purchase from you 10 rupees, 20 rupees books are there, 30 rupees books are there. Bhagavad Gita you may get for 225 rupees, something like that. So this is the month when we maximize book distribution. So if you feel so inspired, you can give a gift of Bhagavad Gita, or you can try to distribute some books and please Srila Prabhupada and Krishna, so that this knowledge, these books can go to others as far as possible. Okay. What do we need to discuss? Do we have any questions from the current class, today's class, or other classes? So Vivansh is joining us for the first time on the online class. Welcome, Vivansh.
Thank you.
How did you find the class today?
Good.
Did you understand?
Yes, and I even wrote notes.
You even what?
Wrote notes.
Oh, you took down notes. Okay. So when we ask questions in the next class, every class we ask questions from the previous class. Okay. So you can go through the notes and you can answer the questions. And if you have any doubts, you can ask. Okay.
And watch YouTube and YouTube also.
Yeah, and YouTube, you have the recordings of the past classes as well. So in your free time, you can watch the previous classes, what you have already missed. It's too much homework, is it? Okay, anyway, you have vacation now, 2-3 months, so you can use your time. Okay. All right, then. See you all next week if Krishna so sanctions. Till then, have a nice week in Krishna consciousness. Vansha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhu vyevacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai.
Jai.
Yes.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.